I wanted to show how I use the paint skins, that I um, take off the palette and use for collage material. I actually have made a pen. I collage right in the paint skin, and actually when the collage was dry, I put resin over the whole entire thing. And this makes a wonderful foundation for a jewelry piece, some jewelry piece. I probably will make this into a pin, but you could also make it into a pendant. So, but you could also incorporate it into another mixed media piece. It doesn't have to be jewelry specifically. But this is just an example of how I use recycled material in my art, and I came up with this just for the heck of it. I decided to play around with the paint skins. Now I purposely make these paint skins. Sometimes when I have like a class where the kids have used iridescent paint and they've used glue, I will mix the glue and the paint together. I'll mix it up and I will spread it on a piece of freezer wrap or wax paper so it doesn't stick, and I let it dry and it becomes a really cool skin, sometimes really kind of like a wafer thin skin that can be used for jewelry but can be used for mixed media pieces that you do, as well as fiber art, and it's just a wonderful, wonderful material. So, as I said, I experimented and discovered this by accident, but now I'm using it purposely and creating the material purposely in my art. And that's what I believe, what's the important thing about creativity is that when you are experimenting with a material and you discover something, then you can purposely do it over and over again. It's important to always experiment with your creative process. I believe that that's really what techniques are all about. That's how techniques are created, is people actually just discover something and then they share it. So this is something that I don't know, there's other artists I'm sure knows about it, but certainly I have discovered it myself and plan to use it. I'm even thinking that I might be able to put this in my Zizek machine and emboss it. Or I'm thinking also you probably could put it over a stamp and heat it with a heat gun. The only problem is it might melt. But the thing is that you probably could put like saran wrap underneath it so that it would keep it from melting all over your stamp. And it might actually make a cool mold. Who knows? But anyway, I'm going to play around with that too. One of the things that I believe about creativity as well is that it's important that you always ask the question, what if? Because you never know when you try something whether it's going to work or not. It doesn't matter, because it's just the experimenting. It's just the magical part of the creative process. And I look at that as there are no accidents, there are no mistakes, that everything can be used in the long run. So anything that you actually think that you've made a mistake in doing, you can still use it. Okay? So that's my philosophy of creativity. It's always an exciting process. And you never know what you're going to discover. And because I work with kids, I think that's probably the reason why I'm open to my creative child. It's like when you work with children and you put together a project for them, you're always experimenting, you're always exploring material and techniques, and because you're sharing with them. Here's an example. I did a collage with the kids on Friday, and I did this as a demonstration piece. I wanted to show them the process of just simply covering, again, using recycled materials. This is just a piece of cardboard that I used as a base. And I showed them that they can actually take magazine pictures and just randomly collage onto the surface and not think about what they're doing. I also told them the importance of not thinking a lot and not getting distracted with the images, to use the color and pattern that's created with the magazine pictures just as background. And then I showed them that they could actually, after they glued the surface, they covered the surface, that they could then put color over it, and we used, it was actually a really cool watercolor that stained the collage. And of course, because I did it with them, I then became excited about the whole process, of which now I can show in my mixed media class, plus I can use it myself as a technique. But this was just playing, really, just really being open to my creative child and really playing with the images and not really thinking myself, because I needed to show the kids. And they ended up having a wonderful collage piece they took home. They were very proud of it, and it was really cool artwork too. And of course, now I have a mixed media class with adults. I'm going to show them the same technique. So that will be something that they do. And I enjoyed it too. So I think that's all that matters, is having fun and learning something. Those are the two goals I have as an artist as well as a teacher. One of the things that happened over the weekend is someone came in and did a collage piece on fabric. And she started off with just a plain piece of fabric. Sometimes I use pieces of canvas that's left over from a project. This was left over from, it was a thing I did for the theater. It was like a painted tapestry that I took and cut pieces off that I now use as a surface for something else. So she used a piece of fabric, and she used a technique which is called paper cloth. And she took out images, and she found some images that spoke to her. She brought some images that she had that were personal to her. And she started collaging, and in the process of doing that, the paper now it actually bonds to the cloth. Art quilters use this because you can actually sew on the surface. In fact, I have a lady that's coming tomorrow, and she is going to do some other things on her cloth. So you can actually take it to the machine and do decorative sewing. You can do beading on it. You can do other things besides, because it's cloth. You can actually use it as a wall hanging. I did a wall hanging using the same technique, and started off actually just creating a surface for some fabric beads, and it turned out that I ended up using it as a fiber piece. It's a great technique. I discovered it through Cloth Paper Scissors, which is a fabulous magazine that I take a lot of ideas from, and are constantly flooded with ideas, and sometimes that's too much. But anyway, but artists are always sharing their techniques and the different things they discover with other artists, and I think that's important. Here's another collage that one of the ladies also is doing. She started this off with collaging on freezer wrap, and she collaged right on the freezer wrap, and then because freezer wrap it doesn't stick, the stuff that she collaged on it, and she also used tissue paper, which is important. She collaged right on the tissue, on the freezer wrap, and then we peeled it off after it's totally dry. She then has a whole piece that she can use on the canvas. She added